Welcome back at Wealth Wall Street Tribe. Today, we're going to be breaking down not only our passive income report for May 2025, but we're also going to talk a little bit about the difference between syndications and how they pay out. I think syndications is one of those areas that, as an investor, you've probably either considered investing in them or are investing in them. Remember, this is just really just a pooled investment, a way that us as individuals can invest in bigger projects. Maybe it's an apartment complex, car washes, multifamily, self-storage, all the different things you've heard us talk about on the podcast. We're going to break that down. So, Stallion, every single month we talk about our personal passive income report, not to brag, right? But to really just kind of pull back the curtain and to show other people what is possible when your money starts working for you instead of you having to work for it.
That's right. Most importantly, though, we want people to see not just the end result, but how that income was created, how you can do the same. Because be honest, not all passive income is created equal, as we have shared over the years.
Well, as we kind of dive into this episode around syndications, why do you think most people misunderstand how syndications actually pay them?
Well, it's not too hard to figure that out, Russ. I mean, it's super complex. I
It
mean,
is.
you start seeing words like pref return, you start seeing waterfalls, you start seeing LP, GP,
Coupons.
coupons. I mean, the terminology is not common to begin with. And then you talk about each one of those structures is different. And so you start to figure out one, and then you see a second one. You're like, wait a minute, is this the same thing, just called differently, or is it actually a different structure? And so it can be very complex.
No, for sure it is. I want to start off though with our passive income report. Every month we've done this for the last, I don't know, 5 years now. We share our personal passive income. Let's go to that report before we go into specific different ways syndications are paying. And pull that up for everyone. If you're not watching us on YouTube right now, you're really missing out an opportunity to see these numbers and see the stallion's face as I ask him questions that he doesn't understand what I'm going to ask him. I love putting him on the spot. That's my gift. So, Stallion, for the month of May, how much total income, expenses, net passive income did we bring in?
So net income for the month, 49,364.40.
Okay, not too shabby, right? Still staying right there around the $50,000 a month mark. Out of those, which ones stand out to you as like, oh, that was awesome, or man, this thing is not working as good as I wish it was?
Well, the things that I definitely want to point out, one, the land business is always my favorite. It's the steady Eddie, consistent deal that can always is paying out monthly. And right now, this month was 22,959 was the net amount that we receive on that particular investment. It is just notes against raw land. I mean, there's nothing sexy about it, but man, it consistently pays out. And I'm a high S personality. I'm an investor DNA, so I like consistency. I like steadiness. The second thing I'll point out is just a couple of lessons learned this month. Number one, we've talked about recently. I've invested with an operator friend of mine in the Providence Digital Ventures. This is online YouTube pages that are faceless and content websites. And this month, we hired another virtual assistant to try to get ahead of some of our production stuff. And we actually went down in our net income as a result. So we lost about $70 this month in that particular vertical. But I will tell you, wait till next month, because some of those efforts have already turned into additional cash flow. And then the third thing I'll point out is we're finally back in the black with my Turo fleet. We had a couple of rough months with repairs and bringing cars online that is just a heavy lift on the very front end. And so this month we netted $518, but man, we had to pay back. I think it was about $1,000 in the red. So I just expect good things in June, July, August as people are renting more and more during the summer months as well. So what would you add to that, Russ?
Well, we always talk about things that we're learning, right? And I think that there's not enough lessons that are shared. One of the things that we had another tax intensive at my lake house, and I just am always reminded as a CEO, as someone who runs multiple different companies, most of you listening are in that same situation, that we have to be able to inspect what we expect. We talk a lot about the passive income, but the largest expense we have as income earners, especially the more income we make, is taxes. And oftentimes we've just delegated, abdicated that responsibility to someone else and assumed that because they went to school to be an accountant, they are CPA, they're trustworthy, we like them, our kids play, sports with their kids kind of thing. They have all the answers to all of our tax return needs. And the reality is that they want to, but they can't. When's the last time you've been in a doctor's office? When's the last time you've been in a doctor's office and you saw the doctor for more than maybe 5% of the total time you were in the doctor's office? It's been a long, long time ago. I equate the CPA world very similarly, right? Is that they have so many people that they have to see, right? The average CPA has 800 to 1,000 clients that they're working with doing their tax returns. They spend 10 months out of the year doing that. The 2 months that they're not, which is November, December. This is, those are holidays, right? If you forget, those are the times that you love taking vacation, spending time with your family. So do they. That's the 2 months out of the year. They really have time to do planning, and we're wondering why we're paying so much in taxes. And we get this response that we've never really wanted to accept. But this is the common response that we get from our CPAs when we pay a lot of tax and we complain. We go, man, I paid a lot of tax this year. And they go, congratulations. Right? How many times have you heard that? Congratulations.
Exactly.
Well, you could be you made a lot of money. Congratulations. Like, piss on that, man. Like, I don't, that's just that just doesn't work for me. And one of the things that I've gone a long way to say this, but one of the things I learned last month, just being in that tax intensive one more time, that we must be the CEO for our own finances, and that includes our taxes. And if you have not learned how to read your tax return, you're going to be missing things. I learned this, Stallion, that our family office, who manages, I don't know, 75 very high income families, net worths, upwards of $100 million or more, they say every single year they amend or change prior to filing 100%. 100% of the tax returns that are sent to their clients by their own CPAs. And some of those CPAs, by the way, are people that they're referring to. So that's not like the CPAs are just poor CPAs, because they just don't understand the story. They don't really know what's happening. And as I just sat there and watched that, it just told me I've got to experience that for myself. I've got to not only learn these different, ways that I could be mitigating taxes personally and bringing those up. I've got to experience on my own tax return what's happening. And just like I'm doing right now, I want to be teaching it, right? Because the teacher always learns more than the student. So as you're listening to this, I'm just going to encourage you to take the next step to start learning more about your tax returns so that you can start experiencing, so you can start teaching other people about this in your own sphere. Because if you do that, you'll be able to mitigate taxes, which will be your largest expense, which will help you get closer to financial freedom. Sorry, Stagg, I went on a long rant there, but that's where I'm focused right now, because I feel like that was a huge area for you, or for me.
Yeah. Well, I'll just encourage you, if you're hearing Russ and you're like, man, that's me, I need to take that step, go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/tax. And there's actually an application process to join one of these intensives if that's the next step for you. So wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/tax, apply there to attend. Now, Russ, let's get into the meat of what we're talking about today, right? We're talking about syndication, specifically syndication structures, how they can change your outcome as an investor. Because, be honest, on the outside, they all look identical or similar, but man, very, very different payouts. So let's talk about the different types of structures. Let's break it down, and I'm going to stop sharing the
Yeah. So
specific
I think
report right now.
there's if it's okay, I'm going to try to simplify this into two different areas. So for option one, let's talk about a structure that as a limited partner, that's LP, right? I'll give you guys the lingo here. Some of us hear these terms, we don't quite know what it is. So the LP is really us. We're the limited partner. We're just the investor. Somebody else is
The
running it.
passive partner,
Yeah,
basically.
a lot of times people will call them the general partner who are managing, operating, or at least participating in the fund. So for this example, I want to kind of go through and for the purpose of illustration, let's just talk about apartment complexes, right? Multifamily. I think that's probably the lion's share of where people have had experience to some level.
Sure.
And they're going to go buy, apartment complex. They're going to borrow money from a bank. They're going to raise capital from you as a limited partner, and they're going to, pay you out in some shape or form. So structure one, Joey, is where let's just say they're going to give you a preferred return, right? And I'm just going to say 6%. I'll give you 6% on your investment. And it's going to vary, right? It's only if obviously the income comes. And then they're going to give you another, say, 6% of guaranteed growth, right? Meaning that if the project earns not only the income, but appreciation of the first 12%, all that goes to you.
Okay, so the first
Then
12% comes to me as an investor on the overall project.
correct. Then
Okay.
anything else above that would be split with you in the operating profit partner. So really, the operating partner is getting in this deal saying, "Hey, I'm not going to make any money if the project doesn't earn more than 12%." That's really kind of what the nuts and bolts are. And then after that, I'm going to take 90% of the deal, right? Like you're like, wait a second, 90%, I only get 10%. Yes. And we'll talk about whether that's good or bad. And I want to compare that to another structure where, okay, Joey, I'm going to pay you a flat coupon rate, maybe even a higher rate. So instead of 6%, let's just say I'll pay you 8%. And then we're going to start splitting the profit over and above that. So the first, up to, let's call it 12% return, you as the limited partner investor is going to get 65% of that. You're probably feeling pretty good about that, right?
Sure.
I'm
Why
only going to
not?
get 35% of that. The next, say 3% up to 15%, we're going to split 50-50, right? So I'm incentivized as the general partner to be able to increase the return to get where I'm starting to get more of the line share. And then anything over 50%, now I'm going to be the majority. I'm going to get 65% of this. You're, as a limited partner, only going to get 35%. So I want to
So,
talk about those two different structures. And first, to you, like, what's your investor mindset as you look into this and try to figure out which one of these you like better, don't like better?
so first and foremost, I think this always kind of begs the question, which is what we always do when we're talking to somebody about setting up their passive income operating system, is what are you really trying to accomplish? Like, what is your end goal? Because the structure should support that end goal. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, man, if I'm trying to get my money to like double every 5 years, and it doesn't matter if it comes in the way of cash flow today or if it's just a big chunky equity, delivery at the end of the 5 years, then I might choose one of these structures over the other. But if I'm just like, man, I really am trying to get out of my 9 to 5 and I need to have reliable, consistent monthly cash flow that is going to then cover my monthly expenses, I may pick one that has more conservative on the end result, like the equity portion, and higher on the monthly cash flow. Now, we didn't specify which of these structures would do one or the other, but I'll tell you, with a higher preferred return in a lower equity split at the end, it's more likely you're going to get a higher cash flow monthly. It doesn't guarantee it because there's way more variables, right? Like the property may not be cash flowing because the management is not doing well, or there's a all of a sudden a we've experienced this, a disaster comes through geographically and now people are outside of the apartments and they can't get in and they can't pay rent as a result. Like there's variables that would affect the project, but I'm just saying in general, you have to start with what are you trying to accomplish and then decide what structure supports it. What would you add to that in terms of mindset?
Well,
Or maybe even like a red flag.
well, one of the things, if you're getting paid a preferred part on the front end, and meaning that you're getting a lot of the guarantee on the front end, and you're going to get a small, let's call it bonus, if you will, on the back end. I want to know, like, what's the opportunity then? Like, am I going to miss out? I mean, I think, right? Like, if you're getting in a deal like our land flipping deal, right? We get to participate and we see returns 25 to 45%. That's what we've kind of IRR the math on that. And it's, who doesn't want to be in that? Everybody says, "Oh, I want to get in that." But it's a lot of capital. Like, for most people, they just can't do it. They don't have the amount of capital. We've put in over $500,000 in this business. It's one of those things that you're building for a long period of time. So you're not pulling cash out. So that weeds out a lot of people, right? So there's reasons why certain things get paid more. Like, I mean, people who work on oil rigs get paid a lot more per hour than the person working, with grease, the back of a Burger King, right? They both working in oil and they're not making the same amount of money every month, right? So there, you have to understand, like, there's different circumstances that's going to change how much you get paid. But I think about this deal where I would want to know, like, if we were only going to receive, say, 12% and a very small percentage, 10% of the deal on our land flipping thing, and the opportunity was 45 or 50%, I'd say, yeah, I'm carrying a lot of the weight to invest in it early on. I don't know if that's for me, right? That would be a red flag. What's the opportunity on the back end? I think, yes, it feels good to get some guaranteed return. And, assuming that there's not a lot of management fee, I would want to ask those questions. How much are you getting paid as a manager? Maybe you're not getting paid profit, but is there some sort of managing the asset fee that's really draining the expenses? So really it's reducing the amount of profit that's truly available, right? Because profit is nothing more than income minus expenses. Well, if
Well, but
management fee is an expense, and I got like a 2% asset management fee, like a hedge fund does, right? Like, that could reduce the potential profit to a very small number. I may never get to my 12%.
but I want to point something out. You're getting now into some of the details of how there are hidden things in the structure
Yep.
that most investors aren't privy to even ask the question. They just assume, oh, well, this is how it's supposed to be. Like things like management fees and things like extra bonuses throughout and stuff like that, that you just don't necessarily see without digging in to a PPM, digging into the pitch deck. But today's discussion is less about that. I think that's probably something we should do on a future episode. Today is more about the structure itself. Which one is actually going to serve what type of investor, and which one is going to support your end goal? Like, what are your financial freedom and what you're trying to accomplish with your money that God's provided to you and entrusted to you? What are you really, which one of these is actually going to serve you well? So, let's break this down a little bit. Like, if someone gets shown, I want to talk about the waterfall that we talked about in structure two. Okay, you're getting a set amount per month, and then there's actually this almost a stair step. If you think about it, like if we reach 12%, we have this split. If we reach 15%, we take a step up. You as the LP get less, me as the GP gets more. And if you go to the top, the GP gets the most of that and the LP. So, what is the pros and cons of that structure in your mind, Russ?
Well, I think it depends on what is the amount being paid out monthly, right? I know we're a part of one of these deals right now. Like, we're part of two, these exact deals, or we're in both of these right now.
Right.
And we analyze them, and I think from year to year, we kind of mumble to ourselves, "Oh, I wish that other one, I wish it was more structured like this one," or vice versa, right? Where maybe, like, what I like about things like this is that maybe you have a higher, I think they'd use the word coupon, right? Like coupon, not like buy one get one free down at the Winn-Dixie kind of thing. But the way if you went and bought a bond, I know this was about Wall Street, but going back to my financial advisory days, bought a bond, you get a coupon rate on that bond. If it's just basically I put in 100 grand, what the coupon rate is 5%, I get $5,000 every year on the 100 grand. Like that's what a coupon is. So it depends on what that rate is, the coupon rate. I think we see a lot of the times in that situation, the coupon rate being higher. And so a pro would be higher ongoing cash flow, right? Like if I'm getting a higher ongoing cash flow as a result of that, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy. What would be a con is the better the project does, the less the participation I have in it as an investor. So like really after that, I'm kind of using your example, 12%, I start losing value up past that, right? Like, so I'm really vested into that 12% number. And then after that, my gain starts going down.
But
That's what I see. What do you see?
well, I want to add a nuance to what you just said about the coupon rate and then the actual amount received. They're not the same. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, there's people, these deals, they will say preferred return or coupon rate, but they always have the ability. It does not mean that they will guarantee you that you will get paid that on a monthly basis. The project dictates the cash flow and therefore how much you're actually going to get every month. So, for instance, one of these deals that we get a very consistent cash flow every single month, and it's called a coupon. And we're like, oh, that's great. But guess what? That if that project was not performing well operationally or on one of the other variables we talked about, it would be switched from a coupon paid monthly to an accrual. An accrual just means they're not paying you today, but they'll catch it up later, assuming the project is profitable in the future. So let
By
me
the way, I've
just be
been in one
really
of those
clear.
accrual deals in the past, and I'm still waiting on that payment. I feel like it's a Dumb and Dumber moment where they wrote an IOU, and they're just as good as money,
Might want to
right?
hold on to that one. Yeah.
Right. But I see that I still hold into the IOU. I ain't got that accrual yet.
So I'm just pointing something out that maybe as an average investor, you don't see that. You just assume that that means it's going to be paid to you monthly. And then all of a sudden you look up 6 months in and you're like, wait a minute, I'm not getting the $800 a month that I was thinking I was going to get, or the $600 a month, or whatever it may be. I'm down to $100 a month. Well, why is that? Well, because the project dictates the amount you're actually going to receive. And you may be accruing the whole time, to your point, Russ.
Well,
And
I feel
that's
like
hard.
this is a good lesson that I said earlier. One of the biggest lessons I had in May was around taxes and becoming the CEO of my finances and asking better questions of my tax professionals. The same thing's true here, right? Like if you're not having a conversation on some regular basis, I'm not saying weekly, maybe even not monthly, but definitely quarterly with the people that you're investing in, right? Like if you don't
That's right.
understand what's going on with your deal, it's going to make you uneasy, right? I think what's happened for us is that we've sometimes gone 6 months without talking to the group we're investing in, and we start questioning in our head, like we have so many different investments, like, oh, what's going on with that? I don't even know. And then we have a conversation, and it gives us a lot of insight, and it also creates a lot of questions, and we start asking more questions as a result. And I think that that's a great lesson for us as investors, is that as much as we love to say the word passive, passive's a lie. Passive does not mean uninvolved, right? Joey loves the word passive. He won't say passive, but there's no passive. There's no passive. Like you have to be involved in some degree. You have to be able to understand actively what's going on. If you do that, then now you have a framework, a workflow to follow. You can follow up and make sure you're inspecting what you expect.
That's right.
And if it doesn't, it's not working that way. Well, can you go back and, hey, I invested 100 grand in this project. This project's kind of going down a bad track. Is me asking them questions every 3 months going to change the trajectory of that investment? No.
No.
But what it will do, it will change the trajectory of the investments you make in the future as a result of that knowledge. You're going to be learning faster,
That's
right?
right.
It will prevent you from making another investment into another project that had the same sort of, you know, mistakes that could have been observed on the front end based upon your experience in the other one, because you understand what questions to ask. You start to see what can go wrong. You learn, hey, I need to be investing with this kind of operator, this kind of investor.
Well, it's, by the way, Russ is 100% right. I'm going to actually give you some questions to ask. Like, I'm going to let you learn through the things that we've learned. But before I do, one of the best things you can do right now is find out how close you are to financial freedom, right? You need to know what is this the gap between you and that end result. And we've created a quiz. If you go to wealth.wallstreet.com/quiz, it will help you break down very objectively where you stand and how far you are from that goal. So go there right now, wealth.wallstreet.com/quiz. And now let me just break down a few questions that we've determined over the years that you can ask an investor, or excuse me, a operator before you invest. Number one, what's the preferred return and how is it paid? Is it monthly? Is it quarterly? Is it accrual, like we've mentioned already, or is it at the end of the investment? Number two, is there a general partner catch up? Meaning, are they going to catch up later once they take in consideration all the profit that's been paid out on that deal, or is that not exist until the very end? And when does that kick in? What are the profit split tiers? Meaning, like we talked about the waterfall. What are that? When does that kick in? What percentages does that apply to? And are they fixed or performance based? And number four, what's the total that the general partners could make compared to what me as an LP investor make? And you should be able to see a side by side comparison at depending on what tier or what percentage or profit you end up with on the project.
No, that's super good. I think like we have to have these filters to be able to decide, which one of these investments we're going to make, right? Like going back to Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant. If you're in the E quadrant, the employee quadrant, you're working for money. If you're in the S quadrant, the self-employed, where many of you are, you get paid a 1099, right? You have flexibility in theory. You work really hard for money, right? Like you are working 80-hour weeks. Like you wish that you could work 40-hour weeks for somebody else. If you're in the B quadrant, you have other people working for money. You're just managing a project, you're managing a business. But the I quadrant, that's where you have money working for money. And this is where you have to, if you're going to be in the I quadrant, you're going to be a professional investor, you have to start, increasing your knowledge in the questions that you ask. My favorite question still today is, tell me how I lose all my money. I love watching people's faces try to process that question. And it tells me a lot. It creates a lot of opportunity for me to like ask questions as a result of it. I use that as my tip of the iceberg, and I want to get underneath the water. So whatever they say, I'm going to ask a question about that, because they're gonna mention something that I don't even know what they're talking about, and I'm going to go, oh, well, tell me about that. When did that happen? When it's happened in the past, how did you handle it? Right? Like I can ask so many questions. So that is my tip of the iceberg question that just gets me underneath the surface, gets me to the 90% of what I really want to know, but I just don't know. Right? Like I love that part. So being a better investor, understanding your investor buy box. Joey, we built out a passive income lab, which is a 12-week program where for people who've already set up their infinite banking system. So if that's you, you've already set up IBC, whether it's with us, congratulations, you're working with some of the best coaches in the world, or you didn't know us before this and you chose, someone else. I'm sure they're great too, right? But you have not built a way to create passive income. We've actually built a 12-week course. It's a group program with one-on-one coaching that guarantees that you're going to get your first $500 a month in that. If you want to see if you would be approved for something like that, if that's something that may fit where you are, go to wealth.wallstreet.com/free call, and a 15-minute call with one of our coaches that can ask enough questions. Then give you an application process to get into that. That 12-week program right now is 3,000. I know it's going up to 5,000. So if this is something you've been kind of on the fence about, I'd say do it now, because we now have 3 different groups have gone through this. I know in the first group, we have almost 60% of them have already gotten their 50% or not 50%, $500,000 a month of passive income.
Not 500,000, Russ. $500 a month. You
Oh,
just you
man.
just made that sound really, really good. I just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, I think I was trying to say 500 to 1,000, but I mean, that would be really great. 500,000,
Hey, that's the goal, right? That's the end goal.
that would make it pretty easy. Like we probably have to charge more for that.
For sure, for
So
sure.
long story, talk to somebody who understands this better than me. Go to whatwhatwallstreet.com/free call. They give you all the details and not make up stuff. Thankfully, we have disclaimers all over this podcast that basically don't believe anything I just said.
By the way, we're grateful to be here. Glad to be able to share this with you. And I'll tell you this on the way out. I had somebody this week who shared with me a deal that they were considering. And as we were talking, I asked the very same thing that I mentioned up front. What are you actually trying to accomplish? And they weren't really sure how to answer that question. And I said, the deal doesn't matter. Let the deal go. It's not worth you starting into this deal until you answer the first question. And the second thing that I noticed about this that I want to share with you is as I asked questions about the deal, there was a lot of, I think this is how it works.
Mm,
Oh, well, I'm pretty sure they said this is how this would get paid out. I'm pretty sure if it returned this much, I would get paid X amount at this time frame. And here's the takeaway from that. If you have to answer any question like that, I think it might be, I thought I heard, blah, blah. Do not invest in the deal. I'm just telling you right now, this is the part that Russ was mentioning about being involved. If you can't answer with certainty that you know the exact business plan and how it's at least being promoted that it will be paid out, I can't guarantee how it will actually be paid out, but at least how it's being promoted and presented. If you're not clear on it, do not invest in it, because you're just going to be disappointed. I'm just telling you right now, because you'll have your own expectations and they might not be even remotely accurate. So I hope today has been valuable to help maybe equip you with better questions, better knowledge on how to dive into these pitch decks, dive into these PPMs that are being presented. Um, and if you did find value today, please like, share, get this into the hands of other people like you who are on the same journey, trying to get to financial freedom, and they just need the help that you're getting here on this podcast. As always, have an amazing day.